Family advocates are describing Pope Francis's calls for a universal ban on surrogacy offensive. He made the comments in a speech addressing world issues like the war in Ukraine and conflict in Gaza. The head of the Catholic Church called the practice deplorable in a 45-minute address to the Vatican on Monday.
The Pope is calling for surrogacy to be banned worldwide in his New Year's address to diplomats at the Vatican.
Desprecabile la pratica della cosiddetta maternità surrogata che lede gravemente la dignità della donna e del figlio. Essa è fondata sullo sfruttamento di una situazione di necessità materiale della madre.
In his speech, he said the path to peace calls for respect for life and that the life of an unborn child in the mother's womb cannot be suppressed or turned into an object of trafficking.
I think what Pope Francis doesn't realise is that there are thousands of women out there who are happy to carry babies for other couples, who love bringing that joy to families. And there is a way to do this which is responsible and ethical. And putting outright bans in place is just a crazy idea.
In Australia, it is against the law to enter into a commercial surrogacy agreement, meaning the surrogate cannot make a profit from the arrangement. Same-sex couples can apply for a surrogacy in all states and territories except for WA.
We see it as outrageous that that ban is still in place, which is basically forcing that part of the population to go offshore. In this day and age, that because you're gay, you can't raise a family via this route is just ridiculous.
Surrogacy is open to single women in all states and territories except the ACT, but not single men. Crystal Wu, Sky News.
And joining me now live for more on this is Dr. Nathan Emmerich, Senior Lecturer in Bioethics at the Australian National University. Thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, what's your reaction to these comments by the Pope?
Well, they are not anything new, really. Ever since the Catholic Church affirmed its opposition to contraception back in the 60s, it has been opposed to these kind of reproductive technologies. Obviously the focus tends to be abortion, but it is also against things like IVF. And of course, in order to have surrogacy, you need to go through IVF processes.
So what are the key ethical concerns then surrounding surrogacy?
Well, I mean, I think the major concerns are around exploitation of women, both those who donate or have their eggs harvested and those who carry a child. Donating sperm is relatively easy, but harvesting ova from a woman does involve a certain amount of risk. And similarly, of course, carrying a child and being pregnant is not a risk-free endeavour, although usually the law stipulates that somebody who has previously had their own child are only those who can be candidates for surrogacy, so that indicates perhaps it's a bit less risky. The question of exploitation obviously relates to paying women to act as surrogates, and as we heard, this is illegal in the vast majority of countries around the world, and so that offers a way to resolve that kind of tension, but many people continue to argue that this is a kind of form of labour, literally and metaphorically, that should be remunerated when people do this kind of work.
Well, I mean, and that's obviously the case here in Australia. Each state and territory, of course, has its own laws around surrogacy, but the practice of commercial surrogacy, of when the surrogate is paid, that's illegal. Does that then make it ethical if it's an altruistic arrangement?
Well, I mean, if you want to have a child, there are many ways you can do that, and you don't have to resort to surrogacy in the face of infertility of whatever sort. There are plenty of children who are available for adoption or fostering, and that can be one way to fulfil this kind of desire to have or raise a child. And so perhaps we should look to fulfilling the needs of existing children rather than to creating more.
When some mothers out there would say realistically their best option is surrogacy, I mean, What are realistically the problems with that? A lot of women can't have children. Why should we be telling them that they can't because it's not ethical?
Well, I mean, if something's not ethical, we shouldn't be doing it, right? I mean, that's the whole point of calling something unethical. Certainly, perhaps one has sympathy for people who haven't yet had children, but many people, as we've seen, celebrities in the news are having children, second, third, fourth children via surrogacy, having previously carried their own. One wonders whether that is a justified form of use of this technology.
All right. Well, look, it's a fascinating argument. Dr. Nathan Emmerich, we'll leave it there. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.